Toby Keith, by the way. Luke Fickell, prove what you can do with the program in the right area if you stabilize. If it's what Gus Malzahn is, it's also what Gus Malzahn is committed to doing here in Orlando. And we're excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, stability is important. Turnover's bad. Turnover's bad in any industry. If you have frequent turnover. The teams that win are the ones that are the most consistent, and Luke Fickell's provided that in Cincinnati, and hopefully Gus Malzahn can do that in UCF because they've had little blips of being really, really good, if not dominant at times, and owning that league and, claiming kind of a faux national title a couple years ago because they were the undefeated team in the country. But if they could have the same guy for more than 4 or 5 years, that would be great for them. That'd be great for anybody.
Yeah, that's the problem, though, with the fact of college athletics when you're not a blue blood. Your guy gets really good, and unless it's a Kirk Ferentz situation, and I know Iowa's got history, so they're not exactly like a semi non-Power 5 team or whatever, but. Even the teams that are in Power 5s, if you're not one of the top half, then you're always in danger of losing your coach to somebody who's a little bit bigger than you. And then we always are in awe about how did the school with the most money and the most everything and the most everything and the most everything else and the biggest fan bases and the ability to go just grab a coach from the school, how did they do it? It's I don't know, because they had every built-in advantage. And so, when you see, a guy at Cincinnati is doing well, it's automatic you think that Ohio State's going to come calling or Michigan's going to come calling or some other school's going to come calling. So what it will take is the Luke Fickell's actually sticking out and seeing what the answer to that question is what can you build when you stay somewhere like that and really build it and you don't go chasing the big job or a Dave Aranda staying in Waco and not doing what Matt Rule did. What could have Matt Rule have done? I don't know. We'll never know, and we never will know. But right now we can still play with the idea of, what would Dave Aranda be able to do if he actually stood in there and made good money at Baylor and all that, but didn't chase the couple extra million or the SEC or the whatever and tried to really build this thing? And Luke Fickell did that, and Kalani Sitake did that, and Dana Holgerson, I know it's a little different. He's been around, but he does that at Houston and doesn't go chase the Oklahoma job the first moment it comes open. That's how we could see something build up. But outside of that, it's really hard because those guys get picked away, and then they go become the next dude at Mississippi State or whatever.
One thing about Aranda, though, at least in the first wave, he does, again, others have said they're excited about where they are as well, but he does seem to be a different bird. It doesn't mean that won't be another big boy school that comes after him if they do well again.
Well, I have a question for him. At Media Days, is you obviously got a lot more attention last year. Did you enjoy it?
I guarantee you that would be a great question.
Because he definitely got a lot more attention. There were many more articles written about him. There were many more interviews. There was a much bigger spotlight. And you would think ultimately that he's not somebody that really enjoyed that all that much. But, pride and vanity and all that's a hell of a thing, And so I'm not saying that Dave Aranda anyways, all of a sudden, man, put me on TMZ. I love this attention, but I do wonder, how much he did or did not like it. And I think the less that he likes it, the more that he's probably destined to stay at Baylor for a while because he doesn't have to worry about it.
Well, and look, I'll give you a basketball example of why I think things are changing a bit in college basketball that had this kind of thing for a while that if you won an NCAA tournament team at Belmont, you could get the job at Memphis just like that if they were open. I think that's changed because I think coaches are staying and waiting for their opportunity to jump a little bit longer. And look, in college, I'll give you the example of Billy Clyde Gillespie. Billy Gillespie was at A&M. They had some of their best seasons ever, and he was a Texas guy coaching a team in Texas, and it was working. And then he got offered the Kentucky job. It was not a fit for either of them. Neither of them really looked deeper than, he's winning at Texas A&M, he can win at Kentucky. Because at Kentucky, all you have to do is call up a guy and go, basketball, and he'll say, yay! And that's not really how it was. And look, John Calipari's only won once there, one title there, and he's been close a couple other times, but it's hard to win everywhere. So the grass isn't always greener, and then you look here at Baylor and other places. Look, Rick Barnes has had 2 jobs. He's been at Texas, he's been at Tennessee. He's stayed and been steady. Scott Drew's had that one job, big job here at Baylor.
Mike Gundy.
It works if you can stay and be consistent because no matter if you are like the Nick Sabans of the world that win every national title, Nick Saban's the outlier. If you can just be good and consistently good for a while, and then when you get that special group of players, you can strike, then that's what's going to help you win more often.
I wonder about, some are driven by different ways of winning, but at least it does to me, and it's not because I like the underdogs. I have a team that I like that's a blue blood, although they haven't been one in a while. How much more satisfying would it be to win at a place that perhaps people are always trying to get you to leave, or to go somewhere that's a big boy school, bigger, better, faster, stronger, larger fan base, much more attention, and win there? To me, and maybe I'm wrong here, it would be incredibly satisfying to win at Cincinnati and sustain it, or at Baylor, or at TCU, or in Oklahoma State. Then, and not that it wouldn't be great to be a part of Bama, Oklahoma, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, whatever, but I would think that to me, like, seals your legacy.
But nobody does it. Everybody goes running for the big blood, big brand as soon as they get a little hot. I mean, Mike Gundy hasn't done it, but Mike Gundy also hadn't won a national title. He's hadn't won a whole bunch of Big 12 titles either. They had their opportunity to be the second Big 12 team to get in the playoff, and we saw what happened on the goal line in Arlington. I mean, that's how close they were to that. They would have been in the playoff. And so, he's knocked on the door a few times. But, yeah, I mean, we don't really see those guys. Kirk Ferentz at Iowa has been around a long time. But Iowa's, they got Big Ten backing and all that. But they're not what I think of like Ohio State and Michigan either. But he hadn't, gone and won. But he's created a really cool thing that's been super sturdy and steady. And, I'm sure there's other examples as well. But, yeah, I guess just – some money-driven world, a blue blood-driven world, I suppose. It's all about who's at the top, and I guess that just goes across the board in college football as well.
But even with blue bloods, there are very few now, and for Ferentz at Iowa, there are very few, and Paul, you'll appreciate this, and so will I. Tom Osborne, one school. Bobby Bowden, I know he's from West Virginia and all, but one school, right? Very few of those, it seems like, in today's modern college football that had that kind of – but they were blue bloods. I mean, Florida State and Nebraska were as high as you could go.
They turned them into them in so many ways. I mean, Osborne not the first guy by any means, but yeah.
But, I mean, Bowden, that was – he built it.
Yep.
He built it from nothing.
Let's play anybody, anywhere, anyhow. It doesn't matter. We'll play 5 consecutive road games against Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and whoever else.
There was only one job that could have ever gotten Bobby Bowden away, and it was in Alabama, because his dream was to coach there, because his hero was Bear Bryant. But at the time that Alabama would have gone and gotten him, Gene Stallings was there, and then after Gene Stallings left, Bowden had built such a thing at Florida State at that time that Alabama was like, no, you're not. I mean, they weren't what they were then, so he was never going to leave. But there are, again, nobody's Nick Saban, nobody's Bear Bryant. Like, there's those one guys, staying the same place and making $6 million for 25 years is better than being at one place for 3 years and making $8.
When we come back,